We're back with a new talk about Palestine, and again we have the pleasure of talking to Suhad Khatib. We met once before, and we met once before doing the show, and we also met after that, and actually we became a dear friend, and so now we are here again. But this time when we don't sit in front of each other in Jordan. We are on two different sides of the world. You sit in Jordan, I sit in Denmark. So how you been?
هلا we're gonna find out. It's been difficult. بس يعني we're still here, I guess. How have you been?
You know, it's been strange times. And I know we talked a little bit about it. We talked a little bit about it on the phone. Also, Ramadan especially was very strange.
Mm,
For me personally, it was I think the most strange Ramadan I ever had. Uh, it felt like when you put the mouth and when you put the food in your mouth, breaking the fast is like I didn't feel anything. I didn't feel anything. It's like normally it's like this, you get this kind of joy, satisfaction of being able to drink and eat, but this time it was just I just felt like a machine. It didn't matter if I ate or not. This
yeah,
didn't give me any joy at all.
yeah.
I don't know. This was just one of the things. This was like on the more physical level. Uh, what about you? Do you want to you want to share a little bit about how was your Ramadan?
Isolation. I ended up not seeing anyone. We spoke the other day. I was telling our friends, like, I'd rather you not see me during Ramadan, because I want to stay friends with you. I don't want you to see what I'm going through. Before Ramadan, from December, January, and February, I was traveling for my book tour. Hala, we'll talk more about the book, inshallah. Um, and so I ended up going for the tour to Oman, Baghdad, and Beirut. So it was like three dear cities to my heart, and so many things happened during that trip. And I came back to Amman on the first day of Ramadan. So it was Ramadan and shooting on Gaza, resuming all the deaths back to what it was, but everybody going on with their life. And, you know, this is supposed to be a spiritual month, and fasting is difficult as is. So it was just a mess. It was a bit of a mess.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm. This all another thing we also talked a little bit about the other day when we were on the phone is like something I'd like to jump into, which is I think is a very important subject, and I think also maybe relates to this somehow indirectly, this strange uh, spiritual mood we are in. I felt it myself, especially, and I keep feeling it, and it's like also it's like this feeling of we as Palestinians, this thing that we woke up after the 7th of October. And I'm talking especially about the Palestinians and living outside of Palestine, uh, and especially the privileged Palestinians. Um, this kind of that life will never be the same. It's the same feeling we have now, and it's never going to be the same. At least we're living. But also relating to the way we lived our lives before the 7th of October. How we as Palestinians, and I'm now not talking about the whole human race. I'm talking about especially as Palestinians, because I think we can determine that nobody feels related to what's going on down there more than Palestinians. Yeah, and yeah, God bless all the people who struggle for the Palestinian cause, but nobody feels it as we do, I believe. But it also means that the responsibility we had leading up to the 7th of October, the way we lived our lives as they as the colonizers wanted us to live. We lived like of course, I'm not saying some people, of course, they did things through their art and through writings and so, but They did not live full time and went all in on the Palestinian cause, not not on a large scale. So this responsibility we had, did did we fail the Palestinians? Are we a part of the reason why it came to the 7th of October because we did not stand up before like we do now? Could we have done something before if we went, like it's like we just lived our lives, and and the life we lived had an effect on how was going to happen in Palestine, the disaster that came.
هلا the word I digress at the word privileged as Palestinian privileged Palestinians. At the end of the day, we Palestinians who are not in Palestine are Palestinians who are in exile. And no matter how privileged you think you are as a Palestinian outside of Palestine, no matter how much you integrate yourself into the systems in the countries in which you exist, you are still the son or daughter of a refugee who was pushed out of their country by force. And what's happening in Gaza is triggering you. I think, like for most Palestinians, it's triggering you in specific ways that, like you said, nobody can really understand because it's like now in your genetic makeup. Um, See, the thing is, like, there's always a three-generation dilemma for any kind of movement, whether it's for the good or for the bad. By the third generation, they start forgetting what the previous two generations have been working on, whether it's like starting the state of Israel or whether it's Nakba. And then what happened in Gaza, the genocide that happened in Gaza, kind of brings that to you all together at once. You understand what your family went through, you understand the reason why you're not in Palestine, and you also understand more or less what's happening in Gaza. But the question here becomes, who is the Palestinian? That's the question we were talking about, like who is the Palestinian? Um, and uh, and also who is the Arab. And we tend to, in days like these, where you have tried everything you know how to do, but still have not stopped the killing for not a single person. You have not saved a single life from the bombs that those Jewish gangs are throwing at us. You feel like the easiest thing to do is, first of all, feel survivor's guilt, and second of all, start blaming yourself for things. And so I'm not saying this like in a way that I'm blaming myself or blaming us as Palestinians collectively, but only as like a revision of like what are the things that we could have done that could have prevented this from happening. Um, and so one of the questions become the first question to ask, like, what could we have done as Palestinians? The question becomes, who are the Palestinians? I was having a conversation with a friend, a friend in common we have the other day about like her point of view was, and anyone who is related by blood to Palestine is Palestinian, like you can't take that away from them. And I'm not taking that away from them. But I'm thinking about like Palestine not only as a physical existence or as a land, but also like as an idea or a cause. Like, what does it mean to be Palestinian? When do you deserve your Palestinianness in a way, Because Palestine now means something so profound, not just now, it has over centuries and centuries, because like we said in the first interview we had, is that Palestine is the land that connects Africa to Asia. It's the key to the world that we live in. And so the people who come from that land have seen things over centuries, not just right now, but have seen things over centuries and have had to defend their land with everything they have. And so that makes you today an accumulation of all of these things. And so when something like this happens in Gaza, but also in Dafne and everywhere around, you start thinking to yourself, and am I doing enough? And who is the Palestinian? And the Palestinian now has a spiritual meaning. I think, this is something that I've been trying to study in through my paintings and through my writings for the past 2 years. إنه some of the institution people a while back, whenever I used to like have any critique about how certain people are like kind of negotiating their Palestinianness to gain something financial or a position in power. Some of these people's first response to me was, "You don't live in Palestine, so you don't understand what it means to live in Palestine." Um, and I thought that was like the whitest thing anyone can tell me because, like, I'm not out on vacation outside of Palestine. Like, I come from a family that literally survived a massacre. And so the question of who is the Palestinian becomes a very important question. And I remember in our conversation the other day, the reason why this conversation was brought up was from my last painting where I drew, from my last drawing where I had a Trojan horse. And the study was that this Trojan horse had, instead of soldiers in it, it had jobs for us, Palestinians. And those jobs turned us into robots that would continue to do this particular job, whatever it is, the privilege that you were referring to, even while our children are being massacred. And so that does not negate the fact that we are Palestinians and that Palestinian children are being killed. But at the same time, like, how are we dealing with this? We are continuing the jobs that were given to us by our colonizer that we thought was were our um, raft of survival in the sea of violence that we live in. And so it's not, again, it's not a critique to us or like I'm not trying to hate on us or the entire world is hating on us enough, you know. But no, it's just a revision of like what are the things that our generation, as a third generation after Nakba, now that we are violently reminded of what our families went through 80s, like 70, some 80 years ago, and know what are the things that we need to do better so that this doesn't ever happen to us again.
I'm not talking about of course, hating ourselves or putting hate on us for this is not at all where I'm going, what I'm saying. But I'm still saying I believe that not necessarily that the bad conscience not necessarily is a bad thing if you embrace
Yeah,
it and you do something about it. But it's and I believe personally we need to feel bad conscience. And it's not a bad it's not from Yani, I mean, the only way we can forgive ourselves is doing something about it. And it's okay to feel, me personally, I believe, to feel that we failed because I believe in a way we were like hypnotized into this to the Western way of living, eating their food, watching their movies, listening to their music, uh, and and this is a and in that sense, letting our minds getting colonized and even bringing it onto our children and letting him watch, I don't remember all the times I had my daughter, in the morning watch Disney Channel, for example. I want to sleep 1 hour longer, and I put her in front of the television. Today I feel whew, heartbroken about these things because whew, um, I believe that we, with our poisoned minds, brought this poison to our children, and we did. And even though we knew in the back of our minds it was wrong, not just from a human perspective, but as we grow older and got more aware of the situation, we knew deep down that the way we lived our lives had an effect on Palestine, and we knew deep down that we had to step out and say, no, this is not right. But we kept living the life. Maybe sometimes we tried, get a little way. Yeah, we stopped eating McDonald's, we stopped drinking Coca-Cola, but it's not enough. It was not enough. And I believe that looking back, of course, I believe in fate also, but looking back, we could have done so. If we were able to stop and organize and instead organize ourselves, we could have done something that maybe could have prevented what happened. But then again, you cannot go back and say we should have. Now if we, but all this pain and this bad conscience, we need to think about it. We need to think deep about it. I believe what we did, what
Yeah.
the wrong things we did, because or if we do not face this and admit this to ourselves, we cannot continue to do what is necessary now and just pretend, no, no, it's not my fault. No, it was just the way I was, it was the world I was living. No, 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 no. We have to go deep and really think about the things we did, the things we did wrong to ourselves, the things we did wrong to our surroundings and our kids especially, and the end of the day to Palestine. Um, and I believe we can not just use it as to hit ourselves in the head with it, but also to use it maybe constructively for how are we going to continue the struggle, learning from the mistakes. What did and I believe the ones who are really lost, the ones who are lost and the ones we can blame and the ones we can, I will say, even hate on, they are the Palestinians who hasn't woken up yet and still live their lives like nothing ever happened. These people, for me, in my point of view, they don't deserve Palestine. Maybe they are Palestinian by blood, but they don't deserve Palestine in the end of the day. I don't care if what happened. I don't. This is how I see it. The people who did not wake up now, or at least will not wake up now, as the days are coming, do they
But
deserve Palestine?
Omar, what changed? Like, and this was a long time coming, what's happening in Gaza right now, the genocide. It was a long time coming. I think we all subconsciously knew this was happening. The siege was on Gaza long before this genocide started. It was a different kind of genocide, and we knew about that for 20 years. So nothing has changed. I was telling you the other day about like a friend of mine from Gaza when and that question is a question he left with me right on the first week of Tufan on October 7. He was like, when people say Ya Gaza, yalla, yalla, it's because they know that Gaza is always ready, because Gaza has always knew what it was supposed to do. And Gaza always fulfilled that role that it was supposed to fulfill. And that's why, like when you enter Gaza, there's at the first thing you see is the circle that has the phoenix bird on it, because Gaza has been destroyed and rebuilt so many times. But his question was, and why is the world never ready, like the way Gaza is ready? And I think no, we can go on like survivor guilt mode. We can hate ourselves. We can revise what happened. But the truth is, no, there's so much for us that has been stolen from us. There's so much knowledge that has been stolen from us that people in Gaza were able to preserve and protect so that they can um, protect each other. And you're right, we never protected Gaza in the ways that we were supposed to. Um, but no, the betrayal was not just for Gaza. We betrayed ourselves first, you know. It's not like we're white people who live somewhere on this planet who just found out what's happening in Gaza. This is our parents' story. We knew about this. And so I'm not absolving us from this either. Yani, and I also understand what you're saying in regards to how we raise our children and how we raised ourselves and the kind of knowledge that we thought was worthy of accumulation over the years. But at the same time, I'm saying that there were armies and entire systems that were put in place so that we are in this dilemma today and in this moment. And I think the worst thing that we could do to ourselves is like drown in our survival guilt or hate on ourselves. I'm not saying that you are hating on yourself, but like after the meetings that Trump had in the on our Arab side of the world,
It's something I want to get
in
into as well. Yeah.
yeah, I've seen so many people like cussing out themselves as Arabs, like the Arabs, the Arabs, the Arabs, and those were those particular phrases that people are using are the exact same phrases that the empire has installed in our brains, like how they deal with us as savages or how they deal with us as like not smart enough. So that's why we have to have a mandate, a British mandate or an Israeli mandate, over them. But now we've seen that like the Yemenis are also Arabs that are defending Palestine. The resistance in Palestine is Arab. Those who fought for their right in Syria were Arab. Those who are fighting in Sudan are Arab for their right and for their children's right to exist are Arab. And so it's I go back to the theory we were talking about the other day that everything has two poles in this universe. Nothing is just one thing. There's two poles on opposite sides of the spectrum, and then everything in between. You don't expect an entire people to like hold arms and go fight and resist, even when their own home is being destroyed or threatened. You don't expect everyone in that family to like hold arms and fight for it. But for me, as an artist, the question becomes, طيب, what have we installed in our ideas and our art that has pushed us so far away from the people in Gaza right now and made us not ready the way Gaza was ready to fight this violence, even though this violence has existed for so many decades before that.
Mm.
I know part of the answer and the armies and the systems that were installed in place to stop us from being ready. But also, I want to do some self-reflection, like what is it that we have done individually that have impacted the collective and made it so weak and so helpless in this moment. And I couldn't think of anything more dangerous than the jobs that they have given us. Like we became identified by our positions and our jobs, like when I was working in Silicon Valley as a brand leader, I remember the day I was promoted as a creative director. I felt like, no, this is everything I need. خلص, no, what more is there in life? And I became defined by it. But the truth is, no, I am so much more than what the capitalist empire system is giving me. I'm just a slave in this system. But outside of that system, I'm a thinker, I'm a writer, I'm an artist, I'm Palestinian. I have a community, I have a family that I can protect, and I know how to protect it if I have to. And so they never give you anything without taking so much more from it. And they have given us the jobs and they have given us the finances to just barely survive in this world. They have given us the film festivals, like a lot of people are now going to film festivals and music festivals while people are being killed in Gaza. And you feel like, okay, if I don't show my film or if I
Yeah.
don't screen
And
my
people
work in
and people, yeah, and people are joy because Angeli, what's her name? Angeli Joe, she says yes, and Rasa and Ukraine and so on. And then she, with a smile and a sexy dress, and everybody, oh, she said yeah, Rasa, and everybody's happy. So we
yeah,
don't have to think about it anymore.
yeah.
Mhm.
Like them seeing us becomes the most important part of the struggle. But we're unable to see ourselves for whom we are. And like I've been painting the martyrs for all these years, as you know. And every time somebody asks me, like, why do you have gold in these paintings? I say, because we are gold. Like we are like people who fight for us.
Mm,
Our martyrs is our gold in this world.
mm,
Most of the martyrs, the Palestinian martyrs
mm,
who perished in Israeli dungeons
mm,
to protect us.
mm,
Never read their books, they don't know their stories. فإنه هنا this becomes, I'm not like a political analyst, I'm not a historian, but I am thinking about like what are the ideas that was installed? What is the art that we have been sold
mm,
as art that has made us not ready for this moment and has not found any spiritual anchor for us to like be hold on to.
mm,
And especially when we talk about the spiritual strengths, I'm talking about like how have they distanced us from our faith, from our Quran, from our Bibles? How did they destroy our faith systems in the countries, in the land of the prophets?
mm. I don't know if you've been following Trump's travels to the Arab world, and they're treating him like a messiah, and
He knows me well. I do. I like him a lot. I like him too much. That's why we give so much. you know? Too much. I like you too much.
Nice house. Nice house.
Very hard to avoid, actually.
Exactly. Of course, you've been following that, and this is this is of course I think this is so of course so grotesque that even to this level, even in the middle of after 1 year and a half genocide, um, they're acting like we don't watch them. We don't see what they're doing, and this is quite amazing. The same time, I don't know if you've been following what's been going on in Europe yesterday. Some governments, also Canada, they went out and say now it's enough with Israel. If you don't stop the genocide, we'll implement sanctions and so on. They've been coming out with the most harsh rhetorics we've been hearing from them from the last 18 months. Um, and of course, what they say is not so important. I believe in the sense of, oh, suddenly, because many people then, oh, now suddenly, finally, they hear us. I think what's more interesting, why are they doing it now? Why are they saying it now? And what does it mean, actually? For example, the British Minister of Foreign Affairs, he said, history will judge them, the Israeli government, blocking and expanding the war, dismissing the concerns or excuse me, dismissing the concerns or your friends and partners. This is indefensible and must stop. And funny enough, the Israelis their reply to this was that uh, due to anti-Israel obsession and international political uh, considerations, the British government is willing to harm the British economy. That's their decision. The British mandate ended exactly 77 years ago. So the normal asshole answers from the Israelis. But what's more interesting is what he said, the British foreign minister. What do you think of this?
Well, about again, I'm not a political analyst, and I'm afraid to like give political analysis, but I'll tell you like what I think about it as just an observer and as someone as a Palestinian who's been harmed by this all these years. About the visit of Trump, as someone who also is an American citizen and lived in the United States and kind of understands the United States as much as you can understand the Trump. But it's easier for me to understand Trump than most other presidents because he's a businessman, and I worked there on a professional level, so I kind of understand one thing about needing a win for a CEO. And the United States is a corporation, a big corporation with smaller corporations controlling the rest of the world. So Trump, for the first 100 days, did not have a single win, nationally or internationally. And he really needed a win. For 100 days, he's been scrutinized all over the channels, like the Fox and from Fox to CNN. And so, where is the easiest win the president of the empire can get at times like these? Somewhere easier than our land and the systems of the people who run this land, who were hired initially by empire. I can't dive deeper into who did what because we have a very strict جرائم إلكترونية, electronic crime law here in Jordan. They've been locking up people left, right, and center so that we don't actually verbalize what's going on, so that the world can say, like, where are the Arabs? Where are the Palestinians? Why aren't they talking? Well, they are in prisons right now for telling truth. But these systems, most of these systems that exist on this land have been installed by this empire in the first place. So everything that belongs to us, our people, our land, our faith, are owned by the empire. and the emperor changes according. It used to be the British Empire, then it's the Americans. I'm not only talking about the United States, I'm talking about the United States and the Jewish gangs and the European gangs and all of these people combined. And so the easiest win is to come to this part of the world and take as much money as possible with him so that he can go back and tell everyone, like, and they can forget about the first 100 days of losses. And he can tell them, well, I came back with all this money. And this money never actually belonged to us. Like I've seen a lot of people, and including myself, yani. I know that's probably one of the reasons I have been in isolation for the past week, because it was such a difficult thing to watch, honestly. I grew up in a house that believed in Arube, and in an open land for all of us to be equal and prosperous. And so to watch other Arabs fail us to this point was physically visceral. It hurts you. So that's why I have been in isolation for the past week. But at the same time, يعني, I'm not confused at all about the idea that none of this actually belongs to us, even though it is ours. It has been pirated by the emperor, whoever the emperor is. Like if you remember the Biden administration, when Biden first came into power, he unleashed his squad on Saudi Arabia in particular at the time, if you remember. The squad that are supposed to be like the liberal, cool women of color who are like showing the world what an amazing democracy the United States is. They're Muslim, brown, Christian, Black women. And at the time, Ilhan Omar was leading the charge on Saudi Arabia in regards to the murder of Khashoggi.
Mhm.
And basically, that whole
So,
stunt,
yeah, the Saudi guy, yeah,
yeah, the Saudi
journalist.
journalist,
Yes.
yeah, who was murdered in Turkey. And it was basically getting the same amount of money. It's just a different way of getting it,
Yeah.
you know?
Mm.
And so there's like this whole stunt, and he's not going to talk to Netanyahu, but he's going to the Arab world and he's like getting all of these goodies with him,
Mm.
which gets me to the second part of your question in regards to the European statements that were made yesterday. You sent me
Yeah.
a
So
text today when it
you
happened,
were
and
cracking up. You were cracking up when I was reading.
I was, yeah. I was cracking up because if you do actually listen to what they're saying,
Mm.
they're blaming Netanyahu for this.
Mm.
And this is not a retaliation against the state of Israel.
Mm.
This is a retaliation against Netanyahu in
Yeah.
particular. And we don't have any evidence that any of the things that they have said are going to be to take effect at any point in time. Like how are we going to know? Omar, if you remember from the beginning of this genocide, we have been waiting for something since the beginning. And now the ICJ is going to do something about it.
Mm.
The United States, the UN is going to do something about it. Oh, Iran is going to hit. Hizb Allah is going to defend us. We have been waiting week after week after week. They give us something to, like a carrot, like to wait for, so that we can tolerate this, our children burning in front of our eyes for just another week until they figure another lie.
Mm.
So what is going on right now, in my opinion, and I could be wrong, and we'll do another podcast eventually and like go over it. But what I do see right now is that we have entered the final phase of our extermination. We have entered the final phase of this genocide, where they need to say that they are going to put sanctions and stop sending weapons.
Mm.
But in reality, it's what they're planning is like way more bleak than anything we've seen over the past 2 years. And I hope to God I am wrong.
Mm.
אמרתי הבוקר שאנחנו מדינה שפויה שלא הורגת ילדים. כששרים בממשלה הזו חוגגים מוות והרעבה של ילדים, חייבים לומר את זה. אני התייחסתי אך ורק לממשלה הכושלת ביותר בתולדות ישראל, ולא לצה"ל. המשימה שלנו היא לוודא שישראל תישאר מדינה שפויה, שלא הורגת ילדים, לא כתחביב ולא כמדיניות.
And as an extension of that, I know you saw the clip I sent you with the Israeli opposition leader Yair Golan, who he had a press conference. He said that killing babies, that the government of Israel is killing babies as a hobby, and it needs to stop. So this he was addressing the Israeli government. So when I saw this, I was thinking, yeah, of course, what does this mean? Does the Israeli state understand the pressure it's under? Does he, as an opposition leader, understand the pressure now that Israel is under? Or if it's under pressure at all? Is this the beginning of the end in the way of the Zionist state? I mean it in the way that the Israelis, they made the regime on stolen land and on the blood of Palestinians, and it's not sustainable. And some of the Israelis also in their Knesset, in their parliament, like this opposition leader now, maybe start also from what is happening in Europe and so on. Does he start to smell this might be the end of the Zionist state in the long run? Is this why he's going out and saying this, or what do you think is the reason?
I think everybody understands that Israel is the biggest loser in all of this, and that, I mean, look, the entire world is changing right now. I don't think anybody who can't see that. Remember in our first podcast, I was telling you that this is what we're going through right now is the remnants of the First and the Second World War. That what happened in the Second World War, where the United States became the leader of the world because it didn't have to go through any of these wars, and it had so much money and so much leverage because it just went into a couple of battles and then became the winner of the world. A couple of battles, when I say winning them, is killing people with nuclear weapons and wiping entire cities off of the map. So it wasn't an actual win. It was like a violent win, which aligns with the entire existence of the United States. So what is going on right now is the shift, what the world is going to become after the Second World War, and all of the powers that came to be have completely dissipated. What Trump is clearly doing is he's trying to bring the United States into more isolation. He's trying to, I don't know if he's going to succeed. Different powers are going to come to the surface if they are allowed to. Like there's the BRICS coming together. We were talking about it the other day. But this morning we woke up to news about Israel having missiles targeted towards nuclear plants in Iran. So we don't know what's going to happen there. But what is clear is that powers are shifting and geopolitics is being reshaped all over again. The one thing, we don't know how that is going to come together, but the one thing we know is that Israel has no place in this anymore. The Jewish gangs have been exposed. And this guy that you were talking about and all the other white Jewish and evangelical people who will say anything within that context are basically just saying they're trying to save whatever it is they have for as long as they can. But I don't know if that's going to work out or not. God, I hope it doesn't. But Israel is done because Israel is based on other than it's like Jewish gangs that have destroyed what Judaism actually means, other than the fact that we as Palestinians have been saying all these years that Israel is the most anti-Semitic project, not only because it's destroying Jewishness and the values of Judaism, but also because it's killing Palestinians who are Semites. So it's like the most perfect anti-Semitic project that white man could ever come up with. And that it was temporary anyway. Like like they're killing people in Gaza. There were 2 million people in Gaza. There's still going to be 2 million in Gaza after the war because we reproduce, we have kids. They're going to kill as many of us. How many more years are they going to take to kill us? There's 7 million of us only in exile. So you can imagine how, like, there's 11 million of us. Are they going to kill 11 million of us everywhere in the world? They can't. So they were based on the idea, and no, it's a democratic existence that is protecting the Jews, and they're trying to convince us all this time that it was um, uh, a righteous existence that's trying to protect human values. And we've seen the genocide. We see it every single minute of the day. Every single minute we're seeing children burn. They call us Hamas, like, no, I don't have to be Hamas to be able to defend my child. And no, I will try everything I can to defend my child if a soldier comes at me. It's not like like a political party thing. This is me defending my land and my house and my children.
Yeah.
And so are you going to kill everyone who thinks about protecting their children? They can't. And so they they didn't only lose, they exposed the European empire lie about who they are. It didn't only expose Israel and the Jewish gangs, it exposed in the entirety of Europe. It exposed the entirety of the United States and everyone in between. They kept saying, and human values, and then it turned out to be just they're only rooted in financial, in the material things. They don't really care about the spiritual thing. And that's what Palestinians are doing. They're protecting the spiritual. They're protecting their land and protecting the idea of Palestine. They're protecting their people and anyone in the world from going through the genocide that we're going through. And what do they call us for that? They call us terrorists.
Yeah. I just came back from a week ago. I came back. I was a brief visit in Lebanon, uh, and it was very intense because every day we were going through in the refugee camps, going to the south, and going in the south, also the south of Beirut, where the Israelis have bombed and so on. I think what gave me some kind of I don't know if it's hope or but just some what was really nice for me to experience is I think this Sunni Shia that the colonizers have been trying to this split between Sunni and Shia Muslims. They've been trying to create this conflict and successfully have been doing so for the last many decades, for the last decades, especially in Syria and Iraq and Lebanon also. You saw that this Sunni Shia meant nothing, even though they had a civil war and Sunni Shia had been killing each other before in Lebanon. I didn't feel at all this was an issue anymore. You saw the posters of the Palestinian martyrs with some of them Christian, but also most of them with a Sunni background, hanging side by side with the Hezbollah martyrs who died from the Israelis' attacks. And it's I don't know if I could say it gives me hope, but at least it determined that we as Arabs are one. And this Sunni, Shia, Christianity, whatever we are, has a background, it doesn't matter at all. It's like this is the pure thing. This is the purest thing at all of all. This is the struggle against the colonial state Israel and all their friends. This is the most pure thing there is because this is something you cannot. It's not about religion. It's not about which sect you're from, or this is so pure. This is about occupation and colonization, and this is something we all understand. And in that we become one, and in that the ones who die, they die for the same cause. And again, I don't know if there's any hope in it. Maybe there is, but it was just there was something I felt was going on before, but to experience it myself was as a symbol, a very what symbolizes very. I went to the site where they killed Nasrallah, and you had the Hezbollah flags and his picture side by side with the Palestinian flags. Of course, you saw Palestinian flags next to Hezbollah flags before, but on this place where they killed a lot of people, the Israelis, and it was very symbolic in that way. That yeah,
I'm
Um,
so glad that you got to go to Beirut.
mm,
I'm so happy for that. I was in Beirut, as you know, a few weeks before you for my book reading, and I saw the site that where Nasrallah Sayed was killed, and I do remember the uh, how you lose your breath in that place as soon as you arrive to it. I didn't know that we had arrived, but I just felt that there was something happen. Yeah, something has happened, something awful has happened in there.
mm,
And then you see his huge banners with his photos on it and huge flags. A Palestinian flag is one of them. And it moves you. Um, and like you said, you talk to people. It was very interesting. Beirut is special in so many ways. And as you know, I worked on my book without any funding or publishing houses and all of that. And that made it a very dangerous book for certain people because it's talking about the martyrs and because it's refusing all forms of um, funding that exist for Arab thinking and Arab art.
mm,
So, and I made it a point not to go to any European country. I wanted to go only to the cities that I wanted to go to, and the only cities I wanted to go to were our cities.
mm,
So I went to Baghdad first, and then I went to Beirut second. And I was really I mean, Baghdad was so welcoming and loving. You should definitely, we'll talk more about Baghdad. You should definitely pay a visit to it too. But for me, as a Palestinian artist, it's so important how Beirut is going to deal with that book.
mm,
Because if it succeeds there, it means that it's worthy. It's not just a contrarian project. Like it means that I have done something important here, like the way that my ancestors did, like Najil Ali and so on.
mm,
And it's kind of like you said, everybody, like Beirut especially, is so diverse. It's so diverse intellectually.
mm,
And when you see different people from all these diverse places that probably don't talk to each other, but they are all talking about this particular book, it means something.
mm,
هلا um, we have all kinds of problems in our part of the world. Like if you think about your family, you have within your brothers and your family, even with our daughters, sometimes we fight and we have different ideas about things, and that's normal. But when you have entire armies and unlimited financial support that kind of wants to create a feud within that family, then they will definitely succeed at some point in certain parts. And Beirut, Lebanon, is not disconnected from Syria in any way, shape, or form. Like our part of the world, the Levant, Palestine, and Jordan, Syria, and Lebanon, they're tied to each other whether they like it or not. Like Gaza is closer to Amman than Aqaba is to Amman, even though Aqaba is Jordanian and Gaza is Palestinian.
mm,
And if Syria is not okay, Lebanon is never going to be okay. So what you see is the people,
mm,
but what we don't see is the empire and the armies that are pumping the money
mm.
to create that rift between people in Lebanon. So inshallah إنه um, الله يحمي بلادنا يعني ما بعرف شو أقول لك بس إنه Lebanon is also like going through a lot right now. I'm sure you saw that when you were there in the Junub especially.
Mhm. So, going back to the first thing we talked a little bit about, the responsibility of the Palestinians and what we have to do ahead, because I believe that with all the help we get around from the good people who helps with the Palestinian cause, nobody can do it but us. It's on us, especially the ones who are taking the big load are the people in Palestine, and but also for us, the people here in the outside Palestine in the exile, we have a huge responsibility because they cannot do it without us. And So what are we gonna do from here?
هلا هنا they can do it without us. It's a
You think
question for
you think
us.
you
Do
think
we want to be part of this or not?
you think they can do it without us?
Oh, definitely, definitely.
I
They're fighting with their back towards the wall, which means they're going to put on the best fight ever. Hala, it depends on us whether we want to be part of this fight or not, whether we want to have a stake, whether we want to be part of this victory or not.
Mhm.
And all the good people that you talk about that are helping Palestinians, they're not being good to Palestinians. Like, we're not a charity case. Like, if they're saving themselves by saving Palestinians. Like when they say, Iran is defending Palestine. No, Iran understands that its safety is embedded in the safety of the Palestinians. And Yemen is the same. Yemen understands that very clearly. And no, we are not defending Palestinians because, well, it's a charity case. We're not putting our lives on the line because, like, we feel bad for the Palestinian people. It's because they understand that their liberation, their independence is integrated into the Palestinian independence. And the world that does not understand that the stability and peace in Palestine is their own, then they probably shouldn't be doing this because they're going to get tired because this is a very complicated issue that requires a lot of energy that most people don't have.
Mm.
As for the question, like, what is our responsibility as Palestinians?
Mhm.
It's not a simple question. Like the other day, someone reached out to me and they were like, no, tell me what to do and I'll do it. And I know, really, you think no, it's a one يعني
Mm.
question answer, a yes no question, or this is
Go
this
to a
is the
de
question of your lifetime.
go to
This
a
is
demonstration and then you're good. Yeah.
لا انه this is who you are in this world. You and your entire ذرية, your entire kin are going to be defined by this moment. It's not someone telling you what to do. This is not about a protest. This is about your individual responsibility, who you are in this world.
So it's
And
it's
I
about saving your soul. Can you compare it to almost like saying, from an Islamic point of view, or I think also maybe from Jewish and Christian, I think that God, He doesn't need our prayers. If we pray is to save ourselves, and the same comes with Palestine. Palestine don't need our help, but it's to save, at the end of the day, is to save our own souls. Is that what you mean?
yeah, we go back to the question like, what is Palestine? Palestine is not just a land at this point in time in our generation. And we are very clear, and Palestine is not just a land, it is a land,
Mm.
but it also means something really, really deep and profound. It means liberation, it means fighting your oppressor, no matter what the consequences are.
Mm.
And so, if you understand that
Mm.
and you want to put a part in it, then you'll figure out a way. And then it becomes the personal, becomes the collective.
Mm.
If you figure out what to do in your own personal life, then you are aggregating into the collective. And I see a lot of people who are still working for Google and Amazon, and because they think, and no, they don't have any other choice because they need it financially. And okay, Ammi, and you still work in these places, but how are you supporting Palestinian resistance and Palestinian art? You are still going through the same exact channels that the system has created for you. So you work in Amazon and you're funding organizations that are supporting the art and then going to gala dinners and paying a shit ton of money while children in Gaza are being burned, thinking that, oh, I'm good today. I sent some money for Gaza. This is not how it works.
Mm.
This is, yani, we have to be able, I don't know exactly what every one of us has to do, but we have to be able to make really tough decisions at this point
Mm.
or just be left behind.
Mm.
It's as simple as that.
Yeah. One more thing I'd like just to for before we close up today, something I've been thinking about a lot is like how come, and I believe it's also worldwide, it's not many people with an Israeli background who really goes all in on the Palestinian cause and stands 100% up for Palestine. Why do you think that is?
First of all, what is Israeli background? Who are the Israelis? the Jewish gangs. They're the people who came to our land to occupy it. Um, so I digress, like Israeli background, and I digress, like going all out. What does all out actually mean? No, going on a protest, like using the system that exists in place to say like that person that you just mentioned from the opposition, the Israeli opposition, who's like telling truths and oh wow, let's all have a standing ovation and thank him for his courage. You know that on Israeli media, that person is being framed as a traitor. He's being called a traitor, basically, for calling a spade, basically. بس إنه in the Holocaust memorial in Palestine, in what they call Israel right now, there's a memorial for like I think I'm not sure about the number, but like over 25,000 non-Jews who stood up for Jews during the Holocaust. So there is an appreciation for tens of thousands of people who stood up for Jews while they were going through the Holocaust, which meant, and some of them lost their lives. Some of them were put in the concentration camps because they defended Jews. How many Jews do we know of in the past 80 years, 75 years plus, especially in the last 2 years, where an active genocide is being televised, live streamed on our phones and on our TVs? How many Jews do you know of that held arms against the state of Israel? Oh, great. They protested in front of the mayor's office or they protested in universities and they're hailed as leaders and the most important activists on Palestine. Nahna, our children, our people, every 15 minutes, every 15 minutes, Israel is killing someone. There's like over 50,000 people that were killed, 50,000 people that, like, those are the official numbers that we know of. We don't know how many homes have been destroyed yet. We don't know how many um, disabilities there's going to be from this, emotional and physical, after. So in comparison, we are defending our land, we are resisting our land, and our resistance is being called terrorism, including by the European Union that came up with that statement yesterday. But I'm not seeing any Jewish people hold arms against that system that is bombing us from the sky.
So we should expect, if they really mean it seriously, now we're talking about the ones living inside of Israel, the Israeli state, that they should, if they really want, the ultimate thing they can do for Palestine is actually hold arms against the system.
And no, people, I know a lot of people who left Israel because we don't want to be associated with Israel, but that's not enough for me. Anyone who lived in Israel means that they have become a soldier at some point. It means that they have killed certain Palestinians at some point. And them finding a moment of truth and riding over my shoulder, even after they figured out what the Jewish gangs have done to us as Palestinians, does not absolve them from the moral responsibility. Because they are not just killing Palestinians, they are destroying the foundation of Judaism, of what it means to be a Jew. They're destroying the moral responsibility that they have towards their own faith and their own values and their own traditions, whether they believe in the religion or not. I think that it's fair to say that killing children, burning children alive, is against everything that anyone, whatever their belief system is, it shouldn't happen. And so just saying that I'm going against Israel because as a Jew, I am against this, like you see a lot of people doing it right now. Because like we said, the state of Israel is the biggest loser in all of this. No one can defend the state of Israel and be respected in any way, shape, or form. So now that after you have been in the army, after you've lived in the land that I am not allowed to live in, you have stood by Haifa's beach where I am not allowed to stand, where you are not allowed to stand, where our children were not allowed to stand. saying that you're against the state of Israel is not enough for me anymore. Like
What's,
there's
what, so what should we expect? What should we
I
expect?
don't expect anything from them. I think they've completely lost their moral value system. They don't have anything to base their moral value system on. What
No,
do
but
they care
I
about?
mean, I mean, the ones who, so maybe I phrase it in a different way. The ones who want to really go all in for Palestine with an Israeli background, what should they do?
If again, it's not for me. It's not for me to say what they should do.
Mm,
But I'm telling you that I know that so tens of thousands of people held arms against the Nazi regime to protect Jews from the concentration camps. And I don't see Jews doing the same at this moment. Someone was just sending me a video asking me about this particular intellectual whose father was a general in the Israeli army who tortured Palestinians in Israeli dungeons. And he wrote a book about how his father tortured Palestinians.
mm,
And now he's touring the world and he's being hailed as a hero and he has his own center, which, by the way, is copying my cultural center in Amman, in my opinion.
mm.
And he is becoming a spokesperson on behalf of Palestinians. This guy was saying, and I don't care what you want to call it, if you want to call it Israel, you want to call it Palestine, as long as my children get to live in it.
Did he say
But
that?
what about my children? What
Say that?
about, yeah, what about my reparations, emotional and financial? What about the 80 years that have been stolen from me? At this point, this ship has sailed. Whatever they do, again, I'm telling you again, they are not doing it for Palestine. They're doing it to save their humanity. They're doing it to save their children from the disaster that is Israel, the most anti-Semitic project that ever existed in this world.
So what we can maybe promote or wish for is that they start to raise arms against the
I
regime.
don't care. I don't care about them.
Mm,
I don't not in this moment. I
mm,
have so much more to worry about as a Palestinian. It's not for me to tell them what to do.
mm,
It's not for me to tell them what to do.
mm,
I couldn't, I could, they, I don't need to save their humanity.
mm,
They need to save their humanity. It's not my responsibility to tell them or promote or anything. They should be having a conversation with each other. Like, what the heck did we do?
mm,
How did it get so bad?
mm,
So that they can save themselves from the things that are coming their way once the state of Israel collapses.
mm,
Because it's not over yet. Israel has all these nuclear weapons.
mm.
What are they going to do with these nuclear weapons? You
Yeah,
know about the Hannibal
yeah,
indoctrination.
this,
So are they going to kill more Jews? Like, am I supposed to like save Jews when my children are being killed in the name of Judaism?
mm,
لا. It's for them to figure things out. It's for them to come together and talk like, how can we save ourselves? هدول, what does Semitic mean anyway at this point? What does it mean? Does it mean killing children?
mm,
Because that's, yani, if you are defending your child, saying, Israel should stop killing my children, and someone comes at you and saying, well, this is kind of anti-Semitic and not all Jews, what does it mean? What does anti-Semitic mean?
yeah,
What does all Jews mean anyway? Like, we are Arabs. Lebanese are different from the Jordanians, are different from the Syrians, from the Palestinians, and we are all the Levant that have the most connected history. But then you go into Lebanon, and then you see that there's the Shia and the Christians and the Druze, and so why are all Jews considered one, but we are considered by our sects?
mm,
And we have the responsibility not only to protect ourselves from their armies and their oppression and their violence, but also to figure out a way to help them see us as humans and figure out the way and help us. So they just need to stay away from me until I figure out how to protect these children from their fire, from their concentration camps.
With those words, Suhad, I know because we can talk a couple more hours easily, but I think we're gonna catch up soon again and make another program.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah, I'll be a regular on your show.
yeah, definitely. You're more than welcome. And
Yeah.
yeah, we hope we continue for the next 20 years. Anyways,
ضل بخير.
يلا you too. يلا.
Yeah,
Talk
take
soon.
care.
Okay. Bye bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.